baurewa sekonai tasiri veidangena lilo sangi mosakora kanirongo maikilia ele munagosa membaleta nongo timi dia vakuloloma kanirau sota vatekei naova narikan ikabu esa soiri ena sengan itiko ela mai viti ena taurai lua nati miriti o kandabu baurewa sekonai tasiri-siri narikan ikabu esa suiri en sengan itiko dei elamai viti en taurai lua nati miriti o kanamu baurewa sekonai tasiri o kanamu baurewa sekonai tasiri.
Vinaka Vaka Livni.
Wow.
Blind.
Okay. No sneak preview. No preview. Mangam.
Let's do it up here. Yeah, better up here. There we go. That's better.
Yeah, take a chair.
Remote. Anyway, I'm okay. But you are okay with the cold? Okay.
Set.
Mai talo mandavi Dexter.
My. See me now? My whole face? Okay.
Pare. Eh? Okay, move a bit.
It's okay. It's all good. Bula. So, Bula, here we are, Portal Talanoa, round 2. I'm honored once again to be here with yourself, Master Simi, Jeffrey, and our good friends in the wonderful space at Mana Coffee here in Suva. Here to have Talanoa about a topic that is getting closer to my heart the more that I learn about it. Solesolevaki. So I'll just take this below and say thank you once again for being here.
Thank you. No. Are we live now? Okay.
Mala.
I was curious if you're without Talanoa, what exactly, how did you start? You should be asking me, but I'm asking you instead about Solesolevaki. You mentioned your first time you heard it was in the Bure, but it's the what exactly in the word that I'm fascinated because many people hear lots of Fijian words, but why? What was in the Solesolevaki that drew your interest?
Yeah, so I shared right before we began recording that I think I first heard this word when I was at the Nawanga Drua Bure.
Nongan Roman Arts Council.
Yeah, where we first bumped into each other there. And so what they're doing there is they're reconstructing a traditional sailing canoe, Drua. And the way they're doing it is they have all of these elders that have come from many different provinces in Fiji to give basically guidance, to give their input into this quite a historic project. And I've been sitting there in the Bure drinking kava with them, and they mentioned this word, this Solesolevaki, that they were coming together to share their wisdom for the benefit of this project, so that everybody would benefit from their wisdom, not just their children or their village. And it struck me as like quite a natural thing to do, to share your knowledge, but I was told that this was quite a rare thing that was happening, that all of these elders from all over Fiji were coming together to share in service to bringing this dream back to life. So that got me very curious about what is this term. And then as I've been staying in Fiji and learning more about how the traditional culture has changed with modernity, especially when it comes to money.
Yeah.
How money has begun to seemingly play the role that service to others may have played before, or service in a different way. So it was just observing that and having conversations with a couple friends that I realized that I want to learn much more about this Solesolevaki. And I also saw that your Sau Vaka Culture Consultancy, you have Solesolevaki as a kind of a core principle. Yeah, so I thought, who better to ask than yourself, and also everyone else who happens to join us, both online and in person. So that's a little bit about how I first got interested in the concept, but the reading that you shared before this session also opened a lot more, many more questions basically about it, with relationship to like the vanua framework and how development is done in like a very conscious, indigenous way in Fiji. So all of these things are, I think, really important, especially for people like myself who comes from a Western context where development means economic growth and prosperity in terms of material gain. Yeah, but it seems like there's a lot of different ways to view that. So that's something that I'm really interested in.
Naka.
And yeah, happy to have Talanoa with you on the topic.
Thank you, Dexter, for the Wanganrua project with the notion of Solesolevaki. That's where you first heard the word. The Solesolevaki aspect in that Wanganrua project is Jeffrey would be the best person to speak about it. He's not positioned well. Maybe we'll put it that way. If we just that's Solesolevaki. When we say Solesolevaki, it's not. It comes from the word sole. Sole means to enclose, to wrap. So when something is Solevaki, collaborated, done together, we are being enclosed by something, a spirit, a value. But it's not seen. So the Solesolevaki that we talk about is not, hey, let's come and do something together. It may look that way, but the Solesolevaki in the olden days was an ancient way of managing our land. Ancient conserving and managing of our land. Because the land, as we in the Pacific and other indigenous communities, we see land not just as earth and rocks, we see land as mother, as father, as grandparents, as our nurturers. They give us food, they give us our weather. So it's not an inanimate thing, it is a living, breathing, spiritual and tangible thing. And because we are extensions of that land, or the word for it is vanua, we, the humans, the two-legged versions, we are the younger siblings. And in our culture, the young people must respect the elders. So we respect those older than us. And as human beings, as Kaviti, our elder is the land. So the Solesolevaki is brought together through a protocol, through kinship, through values, to help Mararoya, that's the word, manage the land. Mararoya, the mangroves, the sea, the river, everything. When we talk about manage, the word manage in our language is Mararoya, protect, conserve, safeguard, look after. Our understanding, or the way we understand managing and conserving of land is a protective one, spiritual, collective, relational, verbal way of protecting and conserving land. For now, let me start there. Jeffrey might want to go add to that, or if he wants to. Otherwise, we can have a talo.
Yeah.
I think it's the word is to rap.
Yeah. Oh,
The action is people working together. And nowadays we don't really think about it as Solesolevaki as something that wraps us together, but we are more into the action. Whenever they say Solesolevaki, this generation thinks of Solesolevaki as working together. You don't see it as something that
As an all-binding, enveloping thing that binds us, that holds us together, cohesive.
So if we looked at it that way, we might not be so. You mentioned something about money coming into the process. Working together, all we want to do is work together and get something out of it.
Yeah.
But the word Solesolevaki was not about that. It was a responsibility, something that binds us together, makes us work together. It's not that anymore. This young generation have been taught that Solesolevaki is actually the action of just working together. And in the process, we are looking forward to looking us for
The outcomes,
what are we going to get out of it.
Yeah.
But the Solesolevaki, in its true cultural sense, was pure altruism. We are doing it because the process in itself is rewarding. The process is refreshing. The process is binding. The process enhances our vivakani, our connectedness. Because as the poet John Donne said, no man is an island. That was how we understand it. We are not an island, but working at not being an island needs work. I just repeated myself. Yeah. The work to remind us that we are not an island. The Solesolevaki is a protocol, is a norm to help keep the connection strong.
Yeah.
It's like faith. Without works, there's no faith is dead. It's if you put it in a scripture way, but in a cultural way, we know we are connected with Okani. We have to work at it. Solesolevaki is an approach, perhaps, to keep that connection alive.
But So Darmurmun is an activity where all the young men of the village come together
To the annual cleanings, weeding of the collective graveyard in the village, a community graveyard.
Okay.
So it's our ancestors that wraps us together, bringing us together to do that.
Right.
We don't expect anything out of it.
Right.
That's the true spirit of
Yeah.
Solesolevaki.
He mentioned Solesolevaki.
Yeah.
I was trying to find a video that
Yeah.
still captures the
Once a year,
Yeah.
every once a year, people in the villages, see, in the towns, we are buried in the common municipal cemetery.
Yeah.
Everybody's buried, but in the villages, we have a common graveyard for the community, and the ranking is different. Once a year, to make sure we say hello to the ancestors and keep the relationship, there are planned weeding, visiting the ancestors at their home. So there's a kava ceremony that begins, and then the date is set, and then when the cleaning, it's just an ordinary weeding cleaning, but the binding, the enveloping Solesolevaki is the idea that we are saying hello to our ancestors. We are expressing our love for our ancestors, and that love is why we come together on a particular time in December, just to touch base with them and clean their homes. And as an extension, those who come into the wedding, there are those who also host and provide a meal and kava. No payment.
Yeah.
That's the Solesolevaki is, we are bound through blood, shared ancestry, shared commonalities, and the working together with no received outcome or reward. The reward in itself is we have strengthened the connectivity.
Right. Yeah. Well, it really it sounds to me like you could almost say it's more being together than working together. Like the work is, I mean, they're both verbs.
Yep.
But the work does imply that there's some outcome at the end. And I suppose the outcome is a stronger connection.
Yeah.
But the Bula, but that sense of connectivity, it's already there. You don't necessarily need to get more at the end as some goal that you're reaching. It's that you're practicing it, and it becomes more full in your life and in the life of the world as well. Because it seems like, when you were mentioning about land management, I was thinking like, how does the land manage us as the people as well? And like, what is the relationship? Like, it's very reciprocal.
It
goes
is
back and
not
forth.
only reciprocal. When you ask how does the land manage us, we manage the land by being united. The activity that glues us together, the Solesolevaki, it can be a collective going to the garden, agriculture, collective fishing, or just doing a meke. But the activity grounds and binds us together. When we are together, bound in one, united, it will reflect in the land. We clean the land, we manage the land and the coast, we don't pollute, we don't waste, but in the process, the Solesolevaki are working together. We are so close to nature. When we are united, the land will be united. The sea, the fruits, the root crops. That's how we understand. That's Solesolevaki. We manage it that way. We are, what we say binds the land. What we don't say also binds the land. What we do and what we don't do is reflected in the land. So it has a flip, understood today in climate change. On the ground, when we talk about climate change in the Fijian community, they don't see the science as it's coming from fossil fuels. We first understand it is, we are not doing our responsibility to be united, because then the land will reflect that unity. It's that deep spiritual connection that we have with the land. So the Solesolevaki is our spiritual cord. And when we're united, the land will also reflect that and give us the bounty.
Wow. Yeah. It seems so vibrant in Fiji, and when you describe it, when a topic like climate change comes, it's often really the people that are not in Fiji that are causing a lot of the problem. It's like a much wider community that changes the conditions of the atmosphere of the ocean.
Therein is a lesson. We need to learn, the bigger powers need to learn from our notion of how closely connected we are with the land. We didn't need the science, we just need the old traditional knowledge. Somehow our ancestors knew that when we are apart, when we are not united, the land suffers. Now that you mentioned, I can say this unapologetically. We can offer the world a different lens in how it comes to managing the land. And managing the land, yes, there's the knowledge, the science, but the tamata, the people, we are born from the earth. When we are disunited, the land also fragments. The land suffers, the sky, the water, the trees. That is an old lesson, but what I'm telling you now is becoming a memory here in Fiji because we've modernized so quickly. We've moved away from the language of the land in Solesolevaki is Nanonda Nakenda Namenda. Ours to own, ours to drink, and ours to share, to sustain. We've moved into the Nongo Nakengo Namengo, mine, the individualistic, which exploits the land.
Right. And that shift was quite recent and has an enormous impact. Internally, like internal ecology and external ecology, and social ecology as well. And that's why when I think about, like, as I've explored that topic of Solesolevaki, and really only at quite a surface level, that's why, like, how the topic of this kind of session was Solesolevaki then and now. And you already touched on how the view of it has kind of changed in a modern generation. Do you feel that there are ways of reigniting that kind of wider enclosed sense of it, or wrapped sense that isn't just working to get some output, but?
I think it's already being done. It's done by some sporting teams in Fiji. They may not be of the same village, but they play rugby together, they play volleyball together, or they are engaged in something that is collective, and the value, a bit of it, they contextualize it to suit the sport event or the arts event. If he wishes to talk about it, something with regard to singing in the community, something that we do together that binds us, and the value can also be contextualized because culture is alive. Once upon a time it was for our agriculture and for the management of the sea. It can also manage behavior.
It's the idea of working together but not expecting something out of it something out of it that's just for you. You're working for the betterment of the larger picture. When he says singing, I'm thinking about my MYF group in Rwanda. They give up their time just to come and learn a song, but not for them. We go sing because of the church. It's the image of the church that they're taking out, but it's us learning how to sing and presenting the songs themselves. But it's not for them, it's for the church. It's the same spirit of Solesolevaki. They're not getting anything out of it.
Yeah.
Dexter, you might be interested to also realize that our Solesolevaki, it connects us, it's our safety net. It's a collectiveness that's looking out for each other and being mindful of each other. Even little things like when we're in the street, if we pass somebody we know through school or church, we don't just walk past. Hey, we do that. It's our way of being mindful of the other person.
Yeah.
So Solesolevaki builds, I mean, like it's like Wi-Fi, the connectivity. Long before Wi-Fi, this was our connectivity, human connectivity. Which is why we never have a word for suicide in the Fijian language, because it never existed, because we were so bound together. Everybody looked out for each other. Everybody was looking and caring for each other. There's no word for suicide. Would you believe that?
Huh.
Yes, suicide is happening, but there is no indigenous word, which shows that once upon a time, this is just a recent thing, committing suicide. But there's no word for suicide in the Fijian language. In the Novosan, suicide, which reflects the reality. When it's not in the reality, there's no word for it. I just thought to take it that way in terms of behavior.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really, I mean, in terms of like, there are these places when people study longevity, the longevity of someone's life. There's this quite well-known research around what's called blue zones.
The blue zones, Okinawa,
Yeah.
in Italy.
And in Italy, exactly. And they found that, like, of course, there's a lot to do with diet and eating the right things, but the biggest indicator was the strength of the bonds that people had together. So in Okinawa, people would live their whole life in one village. And they know absolutely everyone. In Italy, they're living on houses that are really close to each other for a very long time. So this is really close bonding that is what sustains and promotes thriving, not just healthy life, but genuine thriving. So it's interesting that if you have, if that is so deeply ingrained in the traditional culture, there's not even a word for what it would feel like to be completely disconnected from it. It's interesting to see this reflected in Fiji, and then it's a human thing. It's a very human thing.
When Solesolevaki, without the modernization here in Fiji, our ancestors lived and died in the 1900s with all their teeth intact, with their memory still functioning. And the faculties, their hands and legs, they're all still healthy. Not only from the diet, but because of the connectivity. The connectedness. Connectivity is Wi-Fi. See, that's connectedness. And I'm reminded again of John Donne. No man is an island. No man stands alone. It's also, for those who are more familiar with the Bible, there's a verse somewhere there in the Old Testament. Behold, how beautiful it is for brethren to dwell in unity. It's being united mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually has power. It's not just a beautiful thing. The way it's framed in the Fijian language, behold how beautiful it is for people to live with, to dwell with united hearts and souls. So that's a Bible take on the indigenous Solesolevaki. And there's the poetic take on no man is an island, no man stands alone. So just giving two perspectives that show that, hey, this is good. And Nigerian writer, Chinua Achebe, and I quote, if a tradition gathers strength over centuries, one does not turn it off in one night. We have begun turning it off through omission and commission at our peril.
Omission and commission. Wow. Welcome.
Welcome. Minta talaman na ako na may kiri. Hindi mo kiri, pero na. Kiri mo yung doktor. Nimbula na.
Wow. What is the action that is I'm curious as what you just said. Turning it off and also turning it back on again.
Yeah.
What is the activity that you feel would turn it back on in a really immediate way for people in like
I'll let Jeff answer it because he's working in that contemporary space right now
Okay.
with youths.
I'm going to throw us an attention. So I'll answer the. I've been working in the Rewa Delta for a while now. This is the Rewa province, just a few villages. And there's this question that I asked during our cultural awareness session, and it's the word Sautu in Fijian. What I ask is how, when I say Sautu in Fijian, what do you envision Sautu is?
That's question.
That's the question to not just the youth, but the whole village. And the answer would be lots of money, big house, materialistic things. So I will have to then explain what Sautu is in Fijian, and this will have. I'll ask Master Simi to tell us what Sautu is in the actual traditional sense.
Sautu, Solesolevaki is the expression and the working together to achieve some things that's positive. When we do Solesolevaki, like I said before, when we as Tamata humans are united mentally, socially, spiritually, relationally, when we are united off,
All good.
when we are united at those levels, physically, emotionally, socially, spiritually, our being united at that many levels reflects on the land, the sea, on the trees, the root crops, the weather. And when all that reflection comes to the fore, we have our notion of Sautu, which is equivalent to the notion of yin and the yang, the karma, the balance. When we work together, we are mindful of each other, nobody does excess and nobody is left wanting, we have just enough. And that balance is an indicative or also is the Sautu, that when we are at peace and not at peace, we are when united at that many levels with one another, that unitedness, that being one, the land gives the abundance. We say in Fijian, the land will not be stingy in what it gives forth. So that's again the Solesolevaki, our being united, the land will be happy because we are one. If I may put it very simply, that's how Solesolevaki and the meaning of Sautu, the karma, the yin and the yang. Flip it around. When we each pull our own and go individual, the Sautu goes out of balance and it begins to lash out at us negatively, and it becomes Sauti. Sauti, it's like a whip.
Wow.
Yeah, when it's in harmony, don't duck.
Yeah, no,
When it's in harmony, it stands. Nasau etu. Tu means to stand. It is there. It is a beacon.
Right.
It holds everything together. It's the nexus.
Yeah.
When the human, when we are out of alignment, it begins to teeter and then begins to send out the negativity, the vibes, the sauti. Which is why the continuous need to work together, because the cohesion is very fragile. It can get lost quickly, So the so-called Solesolevaki was put in place by our ancestors to ensure this very fragile thread must not snap.
I've heard this, so Sau, right? And Sau two
Here, Sau and Sau two.
and Sau
Sau Ti.
Sau Ti. Yeah, I've heard that term Sau before in relationship to mana. But I haven't heard this
This what I just said.
yeah, this like more this dynamism of different ways that it can be experienced or that it is alive. Yeah. And that's deeply part of the Solesolevaki is keeping it upright instead of it lashing out.
To understand that the whole perspective in the village is to live in Sau, to uphold that Sau so that it stands. If that was the understanding in the whole village, then everybody will be working together towards the same goal. So we will not be asking for any return in anything we do, but we work together in collaboration because we want that Sau to stand.
Right.
The working together is the focus. The return or the outcome is the bonus.
Huh.
Really? That's what I'm
Interesting.
I try to bring that up because that was the mentality then. But now people think of the Sau as having
Money,
money.
car, house, good education.
And they're getting that from the
Western yardsticks of success.
And I will say this out loud. They're getting this from the blessings that the church usually says. It's the equivalent of that. When they say blessings, more for me.
Yeah.
It's not a bountiful land produce. It's not a very healthy ecosystem to eat from. It's not that. Now people are thinking of blessings as more for me.
Right.
More money for me. Have a car, have a big house. That's what they now call blessings. But our notion of blessing was not that. It was more of the land. What the land gives to the people.
In my northern province of Tailebu, our seafolk people, they live on an island called Naingani. And in Naingani Island, they are the custodians of our totem fish, the trevally. So on Naingani is the home of the young trevally. They also breed inside the pond inland, and they go out into the sea. The ones that live in the reef, and the giant trevallies that go out into the ocean. So the blessing. Every morning and every evening, the women from Naingani, they get their share of the totem fish, the trevally. But this is how they do it. They go to the coach of the beach. They have this handheld net, and they just stand at the beach, and they wait for the Nandaniva, Sara. Sardines, Sardines. Small fish. Because when the sardines come, behind them will be the trevally. So as soon as they see the sardines, they just dip their net and they're standing on the beach. They don't go out into the deep. And when they scoop up, they'll have either sardines only or sardines with one or two trevally.
Wow.
Go back in the basket, and they'll do another. And they do that every morning. It's called Neighbor saying good morning. And they do it in sunset, to say good night.
Wow.
So the blessing is given freely on the condition. If there is a woman who does not have one, who could not catch one, the norm is the one who has two must share it with the one who couldn't catch one. Why? Because that was given Mekenda for all of us. It's not meant for one to hoard. And when when that abundance is shared, it it guarantees a continuous supply. And there's also another norm. It must be consumed only on that day. That's the blessing for the day. Don't worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow's blessing will come. You are given this blessing only for today. And third norm, you are not to sell it, because do not sell your blessings.
Yeah, right.
That's another story about Naingani. It has a resort there, but I'm not talking about the resort. The resort is but it's the management of the resources of the blessings.
Yeah.
Again, to show that the values of looking out for one another and caring for one another is crucial.
Yeah.
Then the land will smile, and smile by giving us more fish, giving us more ndalo, giving us more mbeli, this thing that grows in the water, this freshwater creature. Yeah, yeah.
Wow, yeah, this is, I mean, that sounds like wealth to me, like true wealth, is being in such harmony with the ecosystem that you can receive blessings like this every day. Like that, and that genuinely feels alien to my like Western mind.
Yeah.
It's like, that sounds like a magical thing, when I think the magic is really that people realize how important the relationship is. And I mean, perhaps it's not magic, like that's a human, as an aspect of actually understanding your relationship with the entire environment.
I think also that tangent, so you understand what Sau is, what blessing is. To the Fijian, on a Fijian, as a Fijian perspective, iTaukei. So when you understand that, then you can understand what Solesolevaki is about. It's about maintaining that Sau. So everybody coming to work collectively, collaborating on a particular thing, is not for them. It's for the Sau of the whole village. Maintaining that balance and trying to get that blessing every morning and every evening. That will require everybody to work together.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think like how many generations have been able to uphold that Sau, and evidently upheld it to the point that this blessing is like really a deep part of their life. It's how they greet and say Mode to the world each day. It's fabulous.
The biggest
independence stuff in 1970. That's when the people go individual.
The biggest threat to that, to Solesolevaki, it began to snowball when Fiji became independent in 1970. See, we were colonized by Britain. In the 1970, we became independent. But in the independence, the mantra changed from the ours to the mine, I mentality. And that is the essence of capitalism. Each person for him or herself. It has its merits, but it came at a cost to our shared value and communal blessings that sustained us for centuries. And then when the I mentality came in, and when the I mentality was pushed very strongly, and I say this respectfully, through formal education. Because in formal education, from class 1, we are broken apart. We play together, we work together, but the moment we go into class 1 or year 1, we sit individually. The I mentality begins to get planted in us. It works in modern context, but someone has to go. This one has got to give. So our collective, sensitive, spiritual Solesolevaki lost out because anyone who goes to school, they're taught, speak up, think for yourself, do something good for yourself. They're all valid. But no one told us you can also do something for all of you. Instead, we were just come out and be separate and be distinct. Yes, we became distinct. Now we're looking back and wondering, what have we lost? So formal education, in a sense, helped us in whatever ways. I'm speaking the language of the colonizer. But the managing of our land and our cohesion interrelational has suffered. We've become very good at the I and the no, mine, I. We become very good at it, we become successful at it, but we live in Fiji. The land, the people are only best managed by these thousands of years of knowledge. Now we've forgotten that and we are looking at NGOs and government to help us. And I say this respectfully, but now you've and I appreciate your allowing this to be shared because nobody talks about this way.
You know, it makes me think that the reading that you shared before this session was on Solesolevaki in the classroom.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to explore how that model could be incorporated into like a traditional education system or a mainstream education system. Because on a personal note, I'm a product of a mainstream education system, but when I have children, I don't know if I would put them through exactly that same system, because there are many ways to learn, and it sounds like Solesolevaki is a whole experiential learning method that you might gain a lot more actually from going deeply into that.
It's experiential, it's immersive, it's holistic. Even with our nursery rhymes, when toddlers, they have a nursery rhyme which is a game, but it's a way our grandmothers babyfied Solesolevaki. Hey, you need to work with that one. You need to cooperate with that one. And they created games. Working with somebody, hand-eye coordination, or working together, playing together, to instill in them from a young age, you need the support and cooperation of everybody else. So it's even in our little nursery rhyme, our nursery rhymes. But when we go into the school system, we are taught twinkle, twinkle, little star, and we are taught A for apple. We don't have apples here. Well, we can buy from the supermarket.
Yeah.
But there's a mismatch. We are socialized, we are recolored, reprogrammed to suit a different way of life. Nobody thought to, hey, let's hybridize this, let's bring the best of this and the best of this. Boo. Because we are here, we live in Fiji, we won't all go en masse to Canada or USA or to Britain or to New Zealand, Australia. We are born here to look after this place and to be Kaiwiti.
Yeah. Is the hybridization, what is your feeling about that? Because there's a huge shift that has already happened, and to hybridize, to be able to blend what was traditionally practiced with this modern sense, seems like it's a huge challenge. And so when it comes to Solesolevaki, like, how do you see that?
Solesolevaki, I think that's what we are trying to. It's what we're trying to explain. When it comes to Solesolevaki, the modern idea of Solesolevaki is like a project. Bring people together to work together, collaborate as a project for a purpose.
Yeah.
But the Solesolevaki in the olden days wasn't that. You are enwrapped. You've already been enwrapped in your kinship, in your through your blood and through common goals. That brings you together.
Right. Right.
Working together was not just this collaboration is not just something that we do now for just a goal that we need for this week or next week. No,
Yeah.
Solesolevaki is a long-term thing. You are bounded to come together to work.
This is so I want to take this in an interesting direction, especially with what you brought up, because it seems like independence is an opportunity for that Solesolevaki to take on this interesting national dimension, but it also sounds like it actually almost did the opposite thing, where whatever it means to be quote independent, which I think is actually quite a modern. The modern sense of a nation state being independent is already a pretty far cry from, the fact that you're part of like an island community and there are other islands over there. They might look a little different, but you're sharing the same resources. And I'm curious to hear your thoughts about that as well. Like how maybe it could have been different. Solesolevaki could have been.
Once upon a
Embraced.
time, Solesolevaki, in the olden days, Solesolevaki was for food security also. So planting this crop of ndalo that is labor intensive, and I recall an article that spoke of that wrote about in major ndalo irrigation in the olden days, running about 50 square kilometers. This species of ndalo requires labor and is very taxing.
50 square kilometers
This is 50 square kilometers
of irrigation, like
of ndalo.
when was that?
This was in the 1800s.
Oh my goodness, that's a lot of food.
Because it not only fed the people, it was also gifted. It was good for gifting to Biokani when they visit or when other related clans visit. It's also for standby when cyclones hit.
Right.
It was a one-stop shop. But all that was done through Solesolevaki.
Right.
Because it sustained everybody. Now, we go to the supermarket, but the values, the lesson of Solesolevaki, if you read Seven's Heaven by Ben Ryan, when the Fiji Sevens team, how they got the Rio gold, Fiji's gold in the Olympics, he touched on the idea of working together, but he contextualized it to a sports team, where the Dobiritu or Jerry Tuwai, he couldn't be regular in his Jerry Tuwai is a very famous rugby icon in Fiji.
Yes.
He couldn't come regularly because he had no fare. So Ben Ryan picks it up, and in the book 7-7, he looks at the fare, and he gets the rugby players to Solevaka, put in fares for those who cannot afford to come. That's the same value but played out or differently in a rugby field.
Yeah.
And he also went further. Look out for each other's wives and kids and families. If one of them withdrew due to alcohol abuse, and he felt bad, ashamed, and they went looking out for each other. We all make mistakes. You are not the only one to have a problem with alcohol. Just that safe environment. That's Solesolevaki, safe environment. So he ticked all the boxes for the cultural, the emotional, the interrelational. When he got it right, victory was just waiting.
Yeah. Right.
So for us,
Yeah.
our sense of achievement can only be realized if we go back to this ancient value of looking out for each other and being united mentally, interrelationally, emotionally, spiritually, etc. When that is in place, we are achievers. We are ultimate achievers.
Yeah.
Because our strength is together. When you pull us apart and tell us to achieve, We may, or we may not, because we have a centuries old of lesson. Why throw that away?
You know, I just reunited with dear friends. They're from Tonga, and they were saying how that they've lived in Suva before, but they've just moved back, and they were saying how different it is. Yeah.
Suva is different.
They said Suva is different, but they also said, you know, like they know a lot of people that leave Fiji. They go to, they have family friends that maybe one of the children has grown up, finished university. They went off to Australia, New Zealand, something like that, and they don't come back. And they don't send, they might send food, some money back, but they don't come back. And they were saying that this happens in different ways in different places they've lived. In Tonga, there's a different sense of relationality. And yeah, I think about that as like you can become an individual, you can become individually successful, get a degree, you get a good job, and it then becomes that becomes this path, and it's easy to, or seemingly it's easy to forget that a lot of power is where your roots are. Yeah, because I mean I know, like, as you were just saying that, you know, if you make us individual, we kind of don't know where to go. And I know that a lot of people have been leaving Fiji, like the people emigrating. And yeah, it seems like Solesolevaki is like a medicine for that. It's a recognition that that's who you are.
What I'm finding funny is that we are now using Solesolevaki as a word, as a term to identify collaboration. But it's actually our way of life. We live as a family, as a community, and Solesolevaki is an everyday thing. Now when we're out of it, in the city, we're now using the term Solesolevaki whenever we want to collaborate for something. And then we come up with Solesolevaki is the way to go about it. But actually, Solesolevaki is a way of life.
Yeah.
We should have been doing Solesolevaki every day. And if that was done, you would not be living.
Yeah.
If you live, you know your responsibility, because Solesolevaki is a way of life, not just something to bring up when we want an outcome.
Right, a means to an end. Yeah.
It's also, when you say Solesolevaki is a way of life, it's not like that when you say collaboration, Solesolevaki is not collaboration. It's not like corporate team building. Okay, we'll plan for corporate team building next month. No, that's not how it works.
Yeah.
But with Solesolevaki is we work together, we are bound, duty bound, blood bound to look out for each other. Wikawitaki, extending concern to the other. Because we have begun to forget our memory of Solesolevaki. Now we are hearing the words Ndrabundrabua, Valutin Ndrabundrabua, poverty alleviation. We need to alleviate poverty. And the San Ndrabundrabua, we are being measured as being wanting and poor. It's like what do you say? Certain a forest, subtropical forest, trees, the ones on the ground, the ones in the middle, and the ones in the canopy, they're all connected. You take one out, you put in the desert and say, you are being poor. You're not performing. Well, that's how we have been disadvantaged, because the system has denied the space, the thinking, the ethics that are conducive to this plant can only thrive in this condition. You cannot change the botany, the DNA, etc. This is nature. We do that with plants, although we might do what is hybrid crossbreeding.
Yeah.
We could do that, but for humans, that's the question. Why we are having these topics thrown at us? Kenda sandrawa. We are poor. Really? Whose fault? But we don't know, no, because it has been the way of life that made us healthy and robust has been diminished little by little. And then we are told, you must perform, you're poor. Wow. All of a sudden I'm thinking of a field where the conditions are right, the weeds are out and the water is coming through, and then somebody stops the water and say, you are poor plants. Yeah, that's why so when I'm saying this, I'm saying about the system. I think we also have perpetuated that system ourselves. Na buni nondanganga etiko na nondaliso. So when we are talking about Solesolevaki, the beginning and the end of our strength is going back. Now see, this is where it conflicts with the English language. To strengthen community, words like intervention and development are used. But for us, to do Solesolevaki, it's not the word development, it's going back. Listen, reclaim, recover. It has nothing to do with development because everything has been done.
Yeah.
But the words that are being brought to us through the state actors, stakeholders, civil organizations, and NGOs, we need to put in things, intervention strategies to develop. And when we plant the idea of develop in the KBT mind, it means nothing to do with the past. What we are talking about Solesolevaki, it's everything to do with the past.
Yeah, it sounds like, I mean, even the way that I've explained this is like I realize that I'm also part of this narrative. It's an unconscious thing for me as well, and because it now seems more like remember Solesolevaki.
Yeah, remember.
Less like let's do it now. It's more like just remember that it's already there, like it's the water that you've been swimming in. Fish that swim in the water, they don't realize that they're swimming in the water. Right. And I think maybe for me, like coming, like just be completely honest, coming from the West can feel very uprooted.
Yeah.
And you're given a narrative of you can do whatever you want. And go do it. Which is empowering for some people, but it also means that you get sucked into a sense of like that you don't need other people necessarily. You can do it by yourself, and you can't do it by yourself. Like, I think we'll keep saying this: no man, woman,
It's an
no
island.
being is an island, and I think you create some internal violence when that belief is really deeply pounded in that maybe you can do whatever you want, but you will do it with other people. Or you'll end up doing it against them.
You will see, Dexter, we are so wired to work together, collaborate, to call the collaboration of Solesolevaki. You can even see it in the nightclubs. We like to go together in groups and share one cup taki, like how we do in the kava.
That's true, yeah.
But see, to the outsider, I say, hey, why are you always hanging in groups? Why not? Because in other parts of the world, you take yourself alone to the club, to the nightclub. But here in Fiji, we look for connection. Bring us together. Those of us who go overseas, they look for that connection, and the only thing that connects them is the church. They go together to the same church. Though they may be of a different faith, they'll collect people so that they are together. We are wired to be together. It's still in us. Which is why, if you watch one of our secondary schools athletics, we are brilliant athletes, but we play rugby. We wouldn't want to participate in an individual sport. we thrive in the together. That's why we love our netball, love our rugby, because it's together.
Yeah.
We love the church, not because of the soli, but because of the coming together. Yeah. 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 So the togetherness, looking for that connection in this urban time, it is still how we're wired. So if you ever go to the nightclubs, just see gangs together. Kay bitingor. You go overseas, people go individually to the nightclub. We love going together at nightclub and looking out for friends
Yeah, yeah.
to party with,
And
to
that's
drink
all
with.
Solesolevaki.
Huh.
That's all the spirit of Solesolevaki.
Spirit,
Right.
the spirit.
So now I don't know if it's a linguistic thing, but is the soli? This is also solely vaki.
Contribution.
This is like, you know, people contributing and
Sole. Is
Oh, it's sole.
S-O-L-E.
oh, okay, not SOLI.
Soli is the
Okay.
contribution,
Right, right,
Giving.
giving,
right.
alms, charity.
Okay. Which is, I mean, it's not really separate. Of course, everything is actually
Sole
part of
is
this,
to
but
rap.
Yeah.
Sole is to
Ah.
rap.
So the soli, the contribution in the church, has been the indigenous value of working together. The wrapping is attending the same church, or having the same pastor, or same the division of churches, sister churches. The wrapping, the
Yeah.
enveloping, is the shared commonality. And it has also been, and I might be taken to task for this, that wrapping, the value of working together, has been, I want to use the word weaponized, but taken advantage of by this stakeholder called the church. To the point that the Solesolevaki towards there, the intrinsic benefit on just working together, and is is become obscure.
The church knows that people will do Solesolevaki because they are duty bound to. So they use that to gain soli.
I see.
Yeah.
I see. You know, that's a problem that's in other countries as well. I was living in Thailand, and so the vast majority, 90% of people in Thailand are Buddhist. And a very important part of Buddhism is dana, is what it's called. It's giving alms. And for the monks who are ordained, they've left the world of work, they've released all their material possessions. The dana is what supports their entire life. It's the food that they eat every day. They have no possessions. In fact, every morning you'll see them walking from house to house with a bowl, and they receive whatever is offered, and they eat it. It's a beautiful tradition that has supported this spiritual way of life for 2,500 years. It's an incredible thing. And it's supported by the people out of the generosity of their heart. But there are other ways that the institution of Buddhism, of the religion, can gain a lot of resources through encouraging people to donate a lot and consistently. And so you build a nice, big, beautiful golden temple. When the temple doesn't need to be golden, you just need to have a nice tree to be able to sit underneath and be calm and a safe place. And there are particular examples of that expanding into just greed, basically, which is a human problem, greed. It happens whether it's in a religious context or it's in a business context. But it's interesting to hear that, okay, there's flavors of that are happening in different parts of the world. And it's also that what I've seen in Thailand is it's a very beautiful energy coming from the heart of wanting to support. But there are ways that it can get a little bit bent out of shape. And then that energy doesn't support necessarily the thing that maybe the people intended to.
So if you understand the Fijians, when we identify ourselves as we're from the same village, or we're from the same province, or we're from the same matanitu, confederacy. When you identify yourself, that's an envelope in itself. So when there's something to be done by the village, Solesolevaki comes in place automatically. It's like, oh, we have to do that. Everybody knows.
Right.
That's for my village. I have to do that.
Yeah.
That's me. That's part of who I am. That's being used by the church. That spirit of Solesolevaki is now being misused. When people need something to be done, then they come up with identify that village. You have to give this amount of money, and then the spirit of Solesolevaki comes in. We have to give that because that is us. The spirit is there.
Something, I just remember.
Yeah.
Solesolevaki is effective when it's not imposed. Because Solesolevaki is from the people, for the people, by the people, echoes of democracy. Because when we say leadership, na tamata nga na turanga na tamata. Chiefs on their own cannot function nor exist. They need the people. And the Solesolevaki is the people's goodwill of working together, collaborating for maybe the chief who will be the benefactor in terms of prestige and pride. But it is never, ever imposed top-down because it becomes a task.
Right.
It cancels out the goodwill, Nayalo Vinaka. It cancels out na looking out for each other because now we'll be competing who does more. I thank you for saying that. The Solesolevaki, the key ingredient, it's not a top-down directive.
Yeah.
When it's done that way, it begins to abuse the people-led. When we talk about community-led, this is our indigenous parallel to community-led, people-led, led by the value of Vinaka, goodwill, to do so for pro bono, for the betterment of everybody, not somebody backing down. I need this. That's not how. That's an ingredient that kills Solesolevaki.
Right.
And when it is done repeatedly, it becomes a chore. It becomes a hassle.
Yeah.
It becomes a task.
Right.
Talamanda.
So another flavor from a different culture that I know a little bit about is in the United States there are religious communities that don't use they don't use electricity. They're called the Amish.
The Amish.
And there's like quite a famous. They're very skilled carpenters, the Amish, and so they build barns to store hay, to house their animals, and they do something called barn raising,
Barn raising.
where all the people in the community come together and they build the frame of the barn. They build it on the ground. And then all together you get 30, 40, 50 people. They put ropes on it and they pull the barn up, out off the ground, and they bring the walls up and they frame the roof and they make the whole structure of the barn. And it's this communal activity that they do really quickly because everyone's working together, because they know that this barn is important for this farm to be successful, and they're going to do the same thing for my barn. And they're not like, oh, I'm going to get a lot more money out of the fact that I can store more hay or whatever it is. It's pure communal support. And then they're making food, and it's very convivial. It's a big community event. It bonds people. It reinforces everything that you've actually been sharing about.
Yeah, and they
Solesolevaki.
realize the spirit of Solesolevaki.
Yes.
And that's exactly what Solesolevaki is.
Ah.
We're doing things not for an outcome, but we know that this is for the betterment of the whole society. I like the way maybe the whole of Kandahar, the whole of Fiji does it, but when I was in Kandahar, this is what they do, and they call it Withabuki. They call it Withabuki. So when the men, when the men do Withabuki, it's like today they're going to a particular man's plantation. All the men in the village. They'll do everything that needs to be done in their plantation. And then the next day they'll all go to the next man's plantation. Everybody in the village works together. They don't expect anything out of it. But the thing is, they will all be developing their plantation.
Right.
And that's the way it is.
Right. And that, like, they would just keep doing that.
Yep, they'll just keep doing that.
They don't need to, like, do it for one season and then stop. Like,
No,
they can
that's-
feasibly continue
As I
doing
was
it.
saying, it is a way of life.
Right. Right.
This works in the community. And the fact is, Fiji, they live as a communal society. Nobody lives alone. Well, now some people do, it's in settlements, but the core of the Fijian village is we live as a community. And in the community, people work together to achieve the betterment of the society, the whole community. And it's called Solesolevaki. But now, in the urban city, we are using this term Solesolevaki, but not for that reason, but for a specific outcome.
Right.
I want this to be done, let's do Solesolevaki, as in now bring people together so they can work together to work towards that goal. It's now in that context.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I really like that you came up with the topic of discussion as Solesolevaki, but the term Solesolevaki is now being contextualized in that context.
Right. So there's still a seed of it there. It's just kind of it's a much smaller little fruit from a very big tree.
Big tree.
It's like, just remember that this is something that what I'm really is landing for me is just this word remember. Like that this is very deep, and you don't necessarily have to try to do it. You can just kind of remember that it's there,
Yeah.
and then see it all around, because it also sounds like it's actually manifest in many different ways, and it's almost it takes certain eyes that have softened to it to be able to recognize that. Like even when if you Google Solesolevaki, I get a bunch of news articles come up from Fiji Times, FBC, and it's used typically by projects, government projects, as a project term.
Yeah.
And
To showcase collaboration for a specific goal.
right. So, in your view and feeling, how would you help people connect with? What action can they take to remember? What are remembering activities that they can do?
One of the remembering activities in today's contemporary age to remember is too deep, too abstract, too distant, too far off. But we can begin with a small step of remembering. And in today's contemporary Fiji, that small step can be in the form of playing together, sports, organized sports, or singing together in church or in the community. Just activating that, and then the wiring will then grow. But then the trick is sustaining and taking it deeper, taking the remembering deeper. Getting the one together is the first step, but the trick is how deep should it go? So in many in Suva today, there are contemporary urban-based dance groups, and there are urban-based, faith-based choral groups. But then the intention, what do they want? Because the getting together for a purpose is that little seed from the old Solesolevaki. How deep, way back to remember, it depends on the shepherds, those who are mentoring the Solesolevaki or the group, the sports teams, or the choral group. You can continue. Yeah, because he has something current in a dance group, contemporary, that they've come together. They call the Dolce Ndulali. They come together, they perform. But at some point in time, how far back are the people willing to remember? That's another thing we can toss to the river. We cannot force the drink. We cannot force the horse to drink. We cannot drink for the horse. We can drown the horse.
Yes. This is true. Yeah. Yeah,
Oh,
please,
question.
please.
Yes, I have some questions. I'm particularly interested in your relationship in Fijian culture, the land and the spiritual, how they are sort of associated with each other. Well, assuming that if I am an investor, I want to open 1,000 acres of land to grow agriculture. So from the perspective of Fijian culture and spiritual, how does it impact?
Well, put it this way. You can go straight for transactional, and it's just a contract and pay. That's it. But to go spiritual, as an investor, what are you investing, money or people?
Pardon?
What are you investing?
We are opening a big land, 1,000 acres, people trying to do some plantation.
Okay. The investment is not the land. Although you are an investor, when you ask how to go spiritual, you unframe that economic framing, you invest in the people. PR, go back, sit with the people, develop, build relationships. When that relationship is built and solid, you just point the way, they'll run it. They'll run. So that investment, it needs to grow on the humanitarian / PR / vanua Solesolevaki dimension.
So that is in terms of people.
Yes,
But in
people.
terms of spiritual, for example, back I'm from Malaysia, sometimes I see some people want to open, let's say, a mine. They want to do some mining, gold or mine. So spiritually, what they do, of course, the normal way is you can get the land, you measure the
Oh,
land, you get
yes,
the
I hear you.
vegetation.
I get you.
But spiritually, before they want to start, the Chinese particularly, they would have a small Chinese temple in the corner. They will find the land because based on feng shui kind of stuff, they say, okay, you build a small temple over there, and then what you need to do on top of having a temple, say, well, you need to sacrifice 10 goats, some black goats, and all this sort of thing. Is that it's the same similarity you have over here?
The spirituality is shared. How it is expressed and manifested is different here. But there is a spiritual dimension. And it involves kava, the protocol, the spiritual is going and getting the blessing from the elder or the chief. And once it is presented, then the engagement and the talanoa begins. The talanoa is them listening in and their buy-in. The kava is just to open the dialogue. The buy-in is not yet there. So the buy-in, once it's not an overnight thing, once the buy-in is satisfied, then the words will be spoken with another kava ceremony or with a whale's tooth to the investor, that your endeavor, undertaking, is now with spiritual blessing, endorsement of the seen world and the unseen world. So for us, it's this good old kava, but there are certain ways of it being observed, and certain ways of speaking, and certain positions and people who have to speak it for the spirituality to be aligned. It's not just done anyhow. As with anything spiritual, there is a right way, right ethics of doing it. So the spiritual, put it this way, we've worked in spaces where development modern has been done without the spiritual blessing of the people. And the investors slash developers, they try to put in a pole to begin building a bridge, or they take a caterpillar to begin removing the foliage. What happens is just mysteriously that pole just falls into the river and disappears, or the caterpillar goes to the land and lo and behold it just dies. No matter what kind of mechanics engineering they bring, it just doesn't work because the spiritual dimension of the land have said no.
We have exactly the similar thing, exactly what you described. When the moment they want to start, the bulldozer doesn't work, people get into accidents. To avoid that, they have to do some sacrifice, and there's some prayers depending on who opens up that. With that, they believe that will minimize any accidents or anything that is affecting the project.
Yeah.
So, from Fiji point of view, the ancestral spirits, that if I want to develop my land that I have just opened for agriculture, so what I need to do is just to get Tanawa, and then get the elders to come along the Tanawas, and then we discuss, and that's it. Is that what you're saying?
In a very simplified way, you have it. You've said it very simply, but it's a bit more complicated than that. If you hypothetically would like to start an investment and you would like to have to go your way around into the vanua dynamics, hypothetically, you could also ask us to come and help you in our Sau Vaka Consultancy, because that's the area, those are the spaces we work in. Because we mediate on behalf of outsiders and for the insider world of the indigenous. But so you said it. It's getting the elders. I think the guide to the right way is to be guided by these three words. There has the right time, the right place, and the right space. And getting the right bloodline, the elders, the right people. Getting to these four, the right time, making the right place, the right space, and the right bloodline. Because if all three are right and the wrong bloodline, you won't get the blessing. Particularly if the land is situated on that bloodline's heritage land.
Many years ago, I ran a project in Singapore. So it is a supermarket. It's a big supermarket. We invest a lot of money. It's a big empty car park. So before, because we got a lot of partners, the Chinese believe before we start, as we said, spiritual. So they bring the wooden compass and they call feng shui. So they go around and tell, okay, this place should have this, that place should be that, this place no good. So they also give the time and the date when we should open up. But unfortunately, it doesn't work. It was total failure. So that's because one of the partners, the main shareholder, believed in spiritual. They believe in anything you have to have a spiritual blessing, and these are the people who can bring the blessings. But somehow it doesn't work. So the project went not so good. Basically, it's a failure.
We have had that here.
Also similar.
years and years ago, an oil refining, cooking oil factory was established somewhere in the outskirts of Suva. And on the day when they're supposed to launch for the factory to begin churning out cooking oil, instead of golden cooking oil coming out of the vat of a machine, black oil came out. And the proprietor, the business owner, said to the stop. They got all the permits right on paper, but they forgot to ask the permit from the landowners. See, the land has eyes. It doesn't know about paper ownership, about deeds. It only knows its own people and its own bloodline and their language. So, long story short, the businessman put everything on hold on that launch and sent a group, and he went to the village, to the landowners. They're situated outside of Suva. The villagers came in and they did the protocol. They mixed the kava and they spoke the words, the elder, and he addressed the ancient watchers of that place and asking their permission, actually requesting them if they would be so kind to hear his voice and move away from that location so that the work could progress. And they finished the kava, and the head of the tribe said to the businessman, switch it on. Switch on, and they did an offering of first kava bowl, the cup of honor. They poured it into the vat of the oil, cooking oil. And the specialist laboratory person was there, said, no, you don't pour oil, kava into this oil, because scientifically they just don't mix it. But the tribe elder said, do you want this to work or not? We have to do the cup of honor to honor the spirits. So in went the one only kava, and then after they drank, after a few minutes, press the button. No more black oil. The golden oil comes out. That's another anecdote to resonate with what you said. Getting the spiritual blessing, endorsement right from the land. And the owners of the land has eyes. The speaking component of the land are the humans, the right bloodline. Right time, right place, right space, right bloodline.
Vinaka. Wow, yeah, I'm reminded that you said previously as well to me that the land also has teeth.
Teeth, yes.
Yeah, and it can bite.
Yes.
Yeah, if you're out of alignment.
The sauti.
Ah.
Yeah. When it's in harmony, it gives forth, it pours forth its abundance. When it's out of harmony, out of alignment, it bites back. The biting back is the sauti.
Well, I think that maybe we can wrap with maybe one or two more thoughts about how Solesolevaki has come alive. I'm actually curious, as a kind of closing question, to ask, how has Solesolevaki come alive in your life? What have been the spaces and places that has helped you remember the value of that? Because I'm beginning to remember it, that, the relationships that I have and my bond to the planet, to the environment around me is extremely important. And when I work to connect to those things, and when I say work, I mean when I find myself engaged with like my whole body, my heart and my mind with the environment that I'm in, which is why I love Talanoa, because I feel that happens really organically. Then I feel like I have that, or that I'm remembering that connection. And then it feels like, of course, the people that I'm sitting with in this Talanoa is the perfect people. And whoever happens to come in and give whatever thoughts that they have, or just sit and listen to us, that's also perfect. And so for me, Ngunu drinking kava has been something that has helped me remember what this Solesolevaki thing is all about. Even though I come from a culture where we don't use that word, but it's still there because it's a very deeply human thing. So that's my own answer to my own question. But yeah, I'm curious to hear your own.
For our Sau Vaka, that's Johnny. We are also in the Sau Vaka. Johnny and we were colleagues together before we became Sau Vaka. We were once employed with iTaukei Institute of Language and Culture in the Ministry of iTaukei Culture, Arts and Heritage. So in the Solesolevaki, he knows very well. When we did the UNESCO cultural mapping, traditional knowledge mapping, and at every milestone, when we come at when things are not clear, him, and the rest of the team would sit at a space in the office. I'll buy some bags of kava, mix it, and we'll speak to the kava and request the vanua for guidance, and we bless it with the blessings of God. And in the process of the talanoa, the hidden gems reveal themselves, and when they are trialed and put on paper, they work hand in glove in the community because it has been Solevakied. If I use that word, Solevakied,
It's a verb now.
Yeah, Solevakied in a workspace, but contemporary, but holding the space. It's a contemporary workspace, but in that workspace we hold just this moment of Solesolevaki in the just the space, the spiritual aspect, the non-tangible aspect. Listen, Angona, utter the words, and we are all of the same accord, searching, wanting answers, and willing to come together for an answer. And it has worked. It has worked. It has never failed us. And so that's for the past 10 years or 13 years. Mukha na telefon, Iyo. So maybe, Johnny, if you'd like to add some more on that, no more? You, okay. Oi, I'm looking for the mic. Can it see attached to me? So I gave a word, Solesolevaki.
Yeah, beautiful. Vinaka.
Just came back from Sau yesterday, was it? Yeah, Kinesia. So I lead a youth group choir, Methodist youth group choir. There's more than 150 of them, but about 50 people turn up. And
That's a lot.
yeah, traveling group is 25 to 30. But my point is, whilst we're talking about Solesolevaki, I've always attached this term Solesolevaki to our indigenous way of living. Now come to think of it, all our choir practices and all that singing is Solesolevaki. What we aim for is not just, in order to sing and sound good as a choir, we need to be able to live together. Our actions need to be in harmony, and our spirit need to be in harmony as well before we can sound that harmony. That's a principle that I've been teaching the choir for quite a while. And that's the whole essence of Solesolevaki. Even though our goal is to spread the Christmas cheer, the Christmas carol. Yeah, we sing Christmas carols. That was our main goal. Be the voice of God, bringing Christmas cheer to whoever needs it. That was the goal. But we work together we can only do that if we are in harmony with each other. That's the spirit of Solesolevaki. Now that we're talking about it, it's not. I've usually attached Solesolevaki to our traditional way of living in the vanua. And when Mr. Simi mentioned the Solesolevaki in the workplace, in the ministry, Solesolevaki is also happening in church. it's now a way of life. I know they'll be. I'm spending almost every day with Akwai and Rewanga. They're waiting for me right now, I think.
Are they watching this?
Are they watching this? So for me, yeah, now it's a lesson. Talking about Solesolevaki, now for me now it's a lesson that we have to remember, as you say, what is binding us together, so we can. That is making them duty bound to come to Kwa practice at 10. We start our Kwa practice at 10 p.m.
Oh, wow. Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
Because
so,
it's led by them.
Right.
It's a top down. It's community. It's led by them.
Wow.
That's the important thing about Solesolevaki. It must be self-led,
Yeah.
communally led. So many consonants. Communally led
Yes.
initiatives. Yeah, that's the key thing with Solesolevaki. It must
Yeah.
never be top down.
Yeah.
It must be their own goodwill, own initiative. And in its motivation, when it's driven, community led, you get the benefits. And I'm being very modest when you say benefits. Benefits is not money. Benefit can be, in this ever-changing world, being lost in society, depression, drugs, is because the safety net is not there. Being withdrawn, alcohol, substance abuse, because the Solesolevaki spirit of knowing that there's somebody will watch my back. When it's not there, we lose our own. We lose our young men and our young women. We lose our land. The land is relying on us. We are relying on the land. That safety net. I speak too much in English and my tongue begins to become a tongue twister.
Well, I will then speak a little bit in iTaukei. Vinaka Vaka for your time, all of you, for coming and engaging in another amazing Talanoa on an important topic that I think we may even explore again through. Well, I've learned that we're basically exploring it all the time.
Yeah.
Just maybe don't use the words for it. Yeah, so I'd like to thank everyone who joined online and all of the support as always. Mana Coffee, this is an amazing place to come and connect with a community of people that are exploring Pacific culture. And my deep gratitude to Sau Vaka Culture Consultancy and you,
Naka.
Mr. Simi. And Ukraine, thanks for being here.
Nawalebu.
Yeah, so one more below and then we'll
Naka.
call it
Nawalebu.
an evening.
Nawalebu Dexter for holding this space and this Talanoa. Things we never usually say, we are saying it here because you create the right space and you allow us to speak safely, a safe space. Would you think of having this once a month?
Absolutely.
Okay, Vinaka.
Yes.
Thank you, because
Perhaps even more than that.
your network goes right up to Russia.
Yes.
It's in Russia.
Yeah, I think he is actually online right now.
Naka, Nawalebu. Thank you very much, Russia.
You'll meet him at some point.
Naka, Nawalebu.
What have been the outcome of the previous town?
The previous video, where is it?
Oh, it's on YouTube.
Oh,
I thought I had sent it to you.
yeah, okay.
I didn't send it to you. I think I did. I'll send it to you again.
Some people comment on it?
Yeah, some people. Your nephew, Biu.
Bill.
You know Biu?
Let me look up because those are codes. Bill, which Bill?
There's a lot of Bius, yeah.
Yeah.
I can't remember how he spells his last name. I think it's with a V. Yeah, I'll find it for you. But I'll turn off the recording now.
Naka.
Vinaka Vaka Set.
Oh, sorry.
Enambongi ni Au mai tuwali Suva e marawu koto na loman toma kava kemuna na nonggulo loma ngono boya utul mat sereng gue post mat ngono Sau leiko walau ni politana kenangaka eva kamero romo tunga mai veko eya Elulubu na lomango ni ramai kaya Ole buka salala Aungay na univa naruku ni varanga Mindaw mo po tunalingan ni ngao ni sala Isaoy lay ko valaw Di volita na Eva kamero romo tunga mai veiko keyau kano moni kenamia Endina ni levuna rasa Suva Ena vei ngauna Ena senga ia di setekali vakanua nanongu nanumi levuka Isaoy lei kovala au ni politana kenalaka Eva kamero romo tunga mai veiko eia nanomo ni kenamia Eva kamero romo tunga mai veiko keyau nanomo ni kenamia That was a folk song from the old capital, first capital. Salah ko? Eh? Oh, hindi salah ko. We're supposed to start at 10. No.